on Sunday, and graduated with a 4.0 from a very prominent university here in Colorado. And my question to Dr. Mishlos, hi Dr. Mishlos, by the way, I love your show. I love Thinking Aloud, Me Thinking Aloud. I have it in the background. The whole time I was working on my degree, your show was playing in the background.
Go ahead, Cindy. Only got a minute left. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. And I actually wrote a paper about you and how you influenced me. But I just would like to know what advice you would have. Is it necessary to do graduate work going into parapsychology from an academic track, or is an undergraduate degree enough? And if so, what would be a good trajectory to get into the field and do what you're doing?
Well, if you're highly motivated, an undergraduate degree is enough, but it's a very difficult field. It's not as if there are lots of jobs available at all. You have to be really willing to be entrepreneurial, to make your own way in the field. You can't expect that people are going to necessarily welcome you with open arms, because there's very little money in the field.
And mainstream doesn't really accept the theory of being paranormal, do they?
Unfortunately, there's just in the state of Colorado, for example, I'm not aware of any research institutions or universities or places where you could work as a parapsychologist. So you're pretty much on your own, which was, what I had to do myself. So probably the best advice, if you're able to continue your schooling, but if you want to reach out to me separately, I'd be very interested in seeing the paper you wrote about me.
That would be great. Jeffrey, congratulations again on your first place prize, $500,000 from the Bigelow Institute for Conscious Studies, talking about evidence for the afterlife. Up next, we're going to talk about Atlantis, Lemuria, and also your pets.
Sign up now for Coast Zone, our free email newsletter. Get it today at coasttocoastam.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Pod Club. I'm your host, Joe Piazza. Life is just too short to be listening to bad podcasts. Every week we will bring you the latest, and dare I say, the greatest, in podcast releases, as we chat with some of the smartest and most talented folks in the business. You can listen to the Pod Club on the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Was the night before Christmas, and someone in your house was tossing and turning like an insomniac mouse.
So to Sit and Sleep, you should go for the best gift of all, a great night's sleep for once and for all.
It's Sit and Sleep's year-end clearance sale. Save up to 50% off all the best brands. Plus, with your good credit, get 0% financing for 24 months with your minimum monthly payment.
So don't let your old mattress fill you with fright.
Trust your sleep to Sit and Sleep, night after night.
Dental Air Conditioning is contractor license number 1047781.
This is Ken Goodrich of Dental Air Conditioning and Plumbing.
You've already heard the story of how my dad asked me to hold the flashlight for him at night while he worked on air conditioners. Dad knew he was dying, but I didn't. You know the story. Anyway, one of the things Dad would have me do is replace all the screws the previous repair guys left out when they reassembled the unit. My job was to find every missing screw and replace it with a brand new one. I still do that today, and so do all my guys. When motors are whirling and compressors are compressing and electrical contacts are doing their thing, those non-stop vibrations caused by missing screws will cause your system to die long before its time. That's why we tied your unit down to factory-fresh conditions on every service call. My guys are perfectionists. No squeaks, rattles, or hums. And don't forget our awesome duct tester. Gettle. G-O-E-T-T-L. It'll keep you cool, but it's hard to spell. Call us.
Decking the halls with mouths of talk. KFI AM 640. KFI AM 640. And KOSC
Los Angeles, Orange County. Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Here comes the rain. I'm Phil Hubert from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Expect large amounts of rain and snow, possible slides in the recent burn areas. A voluntary evacuation warning is in effect as of this morning in Orange County canyons, especially those burned by the bonfire. OC officials are concerned because the ground is already saturated. More reaction to DA George Gascon's chief of staff's arrest for public intoxication. The Azusa Police Union claims Joseph Iniguez threatened to put the arresting officer on the county's list to keep track of dishonest cops. Union President C.J. Wilson says Iniguez needs to be held accountable.
The law enforcement officers, we get punished if we abuse our power on the color of authority. Mr. Iniguez is doing that exact same thing. He's abusing his power under color of authority against police officers who are doing their job legally.
Iniguez did file a complaint against the arresting officer. LA County has seen one of its sharpest day-to-day coronavirus case spikes since the pandemic began. More than 6,500 cases were reported yesterday. That's more than double Tuesday's amount. Governor Newsom, meantime, announced a mandate for all healthcare workers. He says a booster shot is needed.
No group of workers understands that perhaps more than our frontline healthcare workers, and so I would just ask them to continue to lead by example.
He's requiring a boost for everyone working in the medical field. Danny Plata works at Kaiser in San Diego. Just came out of a medically induced coma because he got COVID 6 months ago, and he says he was going to get a booster shot anyway, but
it does not sit well with me, the fact that it's not mandated.
After 22 years, tonight marks the final sporting event played at Staples Center. Now, the arena isn't going anywhere, but the name is. When the Lakers host the San Antonio Spurs, center court will bear the Staples Center logo one final time before the building officially becomes the Crypto.com arena on Christmas Day. Southland weather from KFI. Rain, a lot of it, through Sunday. Possible flooding in the coastal inland OC areas. Snow drops to 5,000 feet. Highs right about 60. Right now it's 55 in Fullerton, Laguna Hills 55, Lakewood 56, and in Reseda 51 degrees. We leave local from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Phil Hubert.
In Sun Valley, this is on the 5 southbound at Glen Oaks. We have a crash in the right lane there. Watch for delays as you approach this area. South LA, we have a work zone 110 northbound from the 105 to the 10. Two right lanes going to be shut down for road work until 5. Expect delays in that area. Gasworth, we have good news. Earlier crash on the 118 westbound at Rocky Peak Road has been cleared from lanes. Two drives up to full speeds in that area. KFI and the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Brian there.
If you own a business and manage to keep 5 or more people on the payroll through the pandemic, there's a new government program that will pay you tens of thousands of dollars per employee. And this is not a loan. This is a grant. The challenge is getting your hands on this money. This is a bureaucracy. InnovationRefunds.com cuts through the red tape, helps you get the cash. They do all of the legwork. They don't charge a penny until you receive the money, and what they do is simply share a percentage of the money they get. They got my business a 6-figure refund. Now, their average client gets $250,000. That's impressive. Go to InnovationRefunds.com, click on the Qualify Me button, answer a few questions. InnovationRefunds.com. It's no risk, and it certainly is high reward. InnovationRefunds.com. They help me. I'm sure they can help you. InnovationRefunds.com.
Radio advertising can connect your business with holiday shoppers wherever they go. Use iHeart Ad Builder to create an affordable custom radio ad right on your phone. Just click, listen, approve, then hear it on the radio. Create your customized ad today at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
A LifeSource whole house water filtration system is exactly what it says. It's a whole house system, delivering highly filtered, delicious, safe water from every single faucet in your home. With LifeSource, you skip the cost hassle of buying bottled water. It reduces your hard water problems, the scale buildup, filters out chlorine, added chemicals, and there's no maintenance of any kind. I have this system. I absolutely love it. They simply make quality water easy. Never filters to change or salt to add. And LifeSource is having the end-of-the-year sale going on now through December 31. Call now for the best offer of the year. Call 800-334-5009. 800-334-5009. Visit LifeSourceWater.com. LifeSource Water. You can taste and feel the difference.
In 1982, Melissa Tate identifies Rodney Lincoln as her mother's killer. Then in 2015, Melissa says Rodney didn't do it. On the Real Killer podcast, Leah Rothman reveals what may be a miscarriage of justice.
It was one of the most brutal crimes in St. Louis history. A single mother murdered. Her 2 young daughters barely survived the attack. I'm on a mission to find the real killer.
Listen to The Real Killer on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
We have a lot to celebrate this holiday season, but COVID-19 hasn't gone away. So let's make sure to keep our celebration safer by following these tips. Get vaccinated to protect loved ones, and get a booster to keep your immunity strong. Wear a mask in all public indoor settings, and if possible, keep gathering small, short, and outdoors if you're uncertain of everyone's vaccination status. Bring on the cheer safely this year. Find a vaccine near you at myturn.ca.gov. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
Let's move over to the wars of the future. All right, the post-apocalyptic, the post after the place falls apart.
Bill Handel.
I'll get there. I get paid to do this.
Mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.
KFI, AM 640. More stimulating talk.
The best way to get into trouble and cause a ruckus is to tell the truth.
We know firsthand here.
You actually don't get in much trouble for making things up. You get in trouble when you tell the truth.
John and Ken, weekdays 2 to 6 on KFI.
KFI, AM 640.
Maybe I think too much, but something's wrong. There's something here that doesn't last too long. Maybe I shouldn't think of you as mine.
Never take it from me.
You're listening to Coast AM with George Norrie.
Up next, back with us, we're going to talk about 2 different subjects with Tom. First of all, for the first half, he has a book that came out in 2015 called Atlantis and Lemuria, The Lost Continents Revealed. We're going to talk with him a little bit about that. And then get him back at a later date for a full program on this amazing topic. And then later on in the show tonight, The Gentle Way with Pets, Angelic Help for Your Animal Companions. It's an amazing story. All that and much more next on Coast to Coast AM. I'm tired of the news. Every day, politicians are trying to make another money grab, whether it's spying on your accounts or taxing your unrealized gains. There's no shortage to their creativity when it comes to taking your hard-earned money to fund their expensive, far-reaching agendas. The point? You are making a mistake if you're not diversifying your savings. Hold gold in a tax-sheltered account or just hold gold at your home in your safe. And the only company I trust and recommend who sent gold to my door is Birch Gold Group. When you buy gold from Birch Gold by December 23rd, they'll send you free gold for every $10,000 you purchase. First time they've ever offered this deal. With thousands of satisfied customers, an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, you can trust Birch Gold to protect your savings. Simply text COAST to 989898 to claim eligibility for their free gold with a purchase offer by December 23rd. Again, text COAST to 989898 and protect your savings today.
We've got an incredible guest right now, Christine Rose. How did you become involved in holistic health and healing?
By being extremely ill and trying to find a solution. I was told I was dying with 3 months to live, and I wasn't going to give up. I was treated every day with carnivore, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You don't really have to be very ill to have the benefits of carnivore. You cannot stop and say, oh, I had enough, I feel good. That is the wrong way. That's why I feel so fantastic, and I passed 80.
Beautiful.
Carnivora will make all the difference in the world.
Call 866-836-8735. That's 866-836-8735. Or visit carnivora.com. That's CARNIVORA.com.
And we're back. George Norrie with you. Let me tell you about our guest, Tom T. Moore. He has been a president and CEO of his own international motion picture and television program distribution business for the past 24 years. During this time, he has co-executive produced several movies, TV shows, has traveled extensively as part of his business duties. Tom graduated with a BA degree in business administration from Texas Christian University, served in the U.S. Army as a first lieutenant. Thank you for serving there, Tom. He has been requesting benevolent outcomes for 10 years and has a keen knowledge of how they can be used in both business affairs and in one's personal life, resulting in what he calls the gentler, less stressful life, the gentle way. He's got several books out, including his latest, The Gentle Way with Pets, Angelic Help for Your Animal Companions. We're going to talk with him about that in the half mark of this hour. And Atlantis and Lemuria, which he wrote back in 2015. But Tom, welcome back. Happy holidays to you, and I hope all is well.
Thank you. Good evening or good morning to you and your listeners all over the place.
What a varied career you have. How do you go from being a president and CEO of your own motion picture company into being an author?
Well, I'm a reluctant author, you could say. Yes, my background is business, with a degree actually in finance, and after my stint in the Army, my first successful business was, believe it or not, a ski club in Dallas, Texas, for single adults called the Single Skiers of Dallas. That morphed over the years into a travel agency, then into a wholesale tour company where we were selling our tours through 3,000 travel agents nationwide.
Good for you.
Sold that business and started from scratch with the international film and TV program distribution business, and have grown that to a point where we have a library of about 5,000 classic movies and TV series. So
good for you.
That's what I thought I was going to be doing the rest of my life, and until I went to a seminar put on by Dick Sutphin in Sedona, and in improving your psychic abilities. And so I decided to contact a Indian shaman that had been channeled for me before by the name of Reveals the Mysteries. And so I said, Reveals the Mysteries, are you there? And he said, yes, I am, Tom. And I said, wow, this is neat. And so he went on to tell me that that my name was Stillwater. I was an Indian shaman in the 1600s, like he is or was.
Yeah.
And that I had incarnated into the 20th and 21st centuries to reintroduce people to the gentle way. And he also told me, he said, you're going to write books. And I said, no. I'm a business guy. He said, books. So I wrote my first book in about 90 days.
Good for you. I know you were on the program with our host, Lisa Garr, about 3 years ago. And way too long to come back. So we're definitely going to get you back when a full show on Atlantis and Lemuria much quicker than 3 years, okay?
Good. Okay.
And I look forward to the Gentle Ways with Pets, which we'll talk about at the halfway point.
Yep.
And then we'll take calls next.
So basically, you know, what I am is a telepath, okay?
Okay.
Because I've asked now about 30,000 questions in a meditative state. Anyone can do this because we all have the pineal gland in the back of our heads that acts as an antenna for all types of telepathic communication. So anyone can do this. In fact, my guardian angel Theo, who I talked to, he said, Tom, he said, you realize in this time period, most people don't believe in telepathy. He said, oh, you humans have so much to learn. So we do.
We sure do, absolutely. And you have learned a lot to be spiritual. Tell me how you came across the Atlantis and Lemuria story. Is that through your telepathy?
Oh, yes. One day I decided to ask, I said, have I ever had a life on Atlantis? And I was told, oh, yes, you had over, let's see, 160 or 180 lives on Atlantis and Poseidon. And so he said, that's where the general way originated. About 12,700 years ago, you were a religious leader that had 1 million people practicing the general way, and then because things were getting worse and worse between society and the little 5 islands below them, I was told you need to leave society, and so I took 25,000 of my followers through Europe, and we migrated to Egypt. So
Interesting. Now, Atlantis, of course, was reportedly located in the Atlantic Ocean between North America and Africa, and then Lemuria was in the Pacific Ocean. And they were around, what, 50, 60,000 years ago, apparently?
Well, both continents existed, 60,000 years ago when humans were first introduced and I'm talking about Homo sapiens were introduced 60,000 years ago. Okay, so Atlantis, the top of Atlantis, if you can imagine, would be on a line that would be drawn out from the bottom of Newfoundland or Newfoundland, depending on where you're from, and that's at 47-degree parallel, and it was in the shape of a rectangle, and it went within 30 miles of Africa, which at that time was known as the Land of Oz, and there was a tail from Atlantis, because it was about 10% larger than Australia today, and that tail went down parallel to the North American coast all the way down to the Bahamas. So that's where it was located.
Now, we first became known about this because of Plato back around 360 BC, where he started talking about half God, half humans, and an incredible civilization. How much technology do you think, Tom, the Atlanteans had?
Keep in mind, they existed from 60,000 years ago down to 12,500. Okay, so in that time, with the exception, 30,000 years ago, a line of volcanoes that bisected the continent that was on top of the mid-Atlantic ridge. They all blew up at the same time, and that broke apart the continent itself and sank. The oceans of the world all rose 160 feet and basically drowned millions of people all over the world. And it just left islands left. And in the middle of the Atlantic was Poseidon, and below it was Aaron and 5 other islands. And Poseidon had the law of one, religious beliefs, and the Aaron and its islands were known as the sons of Belial.
Were they advanced technologically?
Oh, way advanced. I mean, and that was one of the problems, and that's one of the that's why you don't see ETs running around so much, although they're starting to a little bit more, and it's because they gave free energy to the Atlanteans in the form of giant crystals that were like 20, 25 feet tall, and they were known as posers, and they were ginned up magnetically in some form or fashion, and they basically put out this beam of energy that was like a radio beam.
And they captured it from the sun, right?
Well, I don't know. The crystals themselves were ginned up, by magnetically, so that they
on their own
emitted this beam, and the beam powered all their planes and buses and trains and everything, and everything inside their houses were all powered by this crystal energy, and it had a limit. It's like a radio beam. With the rounding of the Earth, they had to have these posers every few miles in order to keep everything working. And the problem is, the ETs had given them this, but they misused it and turned it into weapons of war, which eventually destroyed them.
Did they destroy themselves this way?
Yes.
In addition to the volcanoes and the eruptions and things like that.
Yeah, that did a big job, obviously, but it left those islands. And then over the last, 1,000 years, it got worse and worse. To the point where the Sons of Belial did a Pearl Harbor type attack with 325 aircraft, I think it was.
Oh my God! Now, where is all this stuff? All down in the bottom of the sea?
Oh yeah. Because they use these lasers that would literally melt the ground that people stood on. And they thought they knew where all the airfields in Poseidon were, but they didn't. And Poseidon retaliated and attacked Aaron and those other islands. And eventually they sank 12,500 years ago, and the oceans of the world rose 42 feet, and that's when Noah's Ark was.
Uh-huh. But now Noah was tipped off, of course. Is that a godly thing or something else?
That's, I believe he was. And, told to
start
the Ark. And he did. It's just that he thought, or they thought, or whatever, that the water was going to cover the whole world, but in actuality, it only the oceans only rose 42 feet. So it covered like the Mediterranean, and to them that was the whole world.
But the sinking itself was a tsunami.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you get 42 feet, going, you've got major tsunamis, and, it isn't just a little rise in water, it's huge waves and everything, so.
If we, with our technology, Tom, why can't we go down to the bottom of the ocean and find all these remnants?
Well, I was told it's because, it happened 12,500 years ago, and all the silt and everything, that's just
it's all covered up.
The whole place up.
Plus the rocks from the continents and everything else I've got.
Yep.
Well, what a discovery that would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and people have asked me about that, but it's just not going to happen. We're moving on from that. I was told that I've had more lives on Atlantis and Lemuria than any other person on Earth, and that's why I'm writing about it now. Because I know more about it, I guess, than anybody else.
You touched on Adam and Eve somewhat in this book. Tell me about that.
Yeah, gosh, Adam and Eve is basically just the Adam and Eve. I mean, it's the Homo sapiens, okay? And these ETs that were asked by the Creator to populate the world could pop out a wholly formed being in 2.5 minutes.
Jeez.
Each.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, you know, there are millions of years ahead of us technologically, but not on a energy basis. Not, they're all stuck at 5.3, I think, 4, and that's what the explorer race, as we're known, that's what we're going to be doing when we go out to the stars. We're not going out till 3250, and people think it's going to be, 2250 or whatever, but it's actually going to take a lot longer than that. And
we have to learn how to bend space and time before we can get out there.
Right, and it's called portal hopping.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm told. And when you portal hop, you can't. There are these energy pathways between planets, and we haven't. Our scientists have not discovered those yet. Okay, so when we start portal hopping, we have to go from. We can't go all the way across the universe in one hop. We have to go from one galaxy to the next galaxy, and so on. It was described to me as like a fast plane going from Florida and making several stops over to the West Coast. And when I acted surprised about that analogy, I was so old time, and this is from my E.T. buddy, and he said, Tom, we know everything about you. So
that's an interesting theory, too.
That's how people move, is portal hopping.
Now, when Lemuria went down, Tom, did it go down the same time Atlantis went down?
No. It was a very idyllic place. I think it was 65 lives on Lemuria.
65? Wow.
65 compared to 160 or 80 on Atlantis. And I said, why so few? And I was told, well, gosh.
You didn't live long in those times.
No, it was because it was a very idyllic place. They also were populated 60,000 years ago. So they lived a very idyllic life until about 1,000 years before the end. And Lemuria was about 12% larger than Australia today. It at one point actually joined Japan, but when all the oceans rose 160 feet to 42 feet, it broke away, and it extended all the way to the east within 100 miles of Hawaii, and for thousands of years, the Lemurians would take Hawaii because there's all this Lemurian energy in the water.
That's pretty interesting. And I bet you know the secret to the pyramids, don't you?
The pyramid block, you have to understand, the human voice, which is what I teach in the general way, the human voice is very powerful, much more powerful than we understand today.
Hold on for a second, Tom. Let's talk about the pyramids when we come back in your latest book, The Gentle Way with Pets.
Don't forget to watch our TV show, Beyond Belief, with George Miller. Simply go to beyondbelief.com.
I'm Phil Hewlett from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Expect large amounts of rain and snow, possible slides in the recent burn areas. A voluntary evacuation warning takes effect this morning in the Orange County canyons burned by the bonfire. L.A. County has seen one of its sharpest day-over-day coronavirus case spikes since the pandemic began. More than 6,500 cases were reported yesterday. That's more than double Tuesday's number. Health officials cite Omicron and just how contagious it's proven to be. More details about DA George Gascon's chief of staff and his arrest for public intoxication. The Azusa police claims Joseph Iniguez threatened to put the arresting officer on the county's Brady list. The DA's office uses that list to keep track of dishonest cops. Southland weather from KFI. Rain, a lot of it, today through Sunday. Possible flooding for coastal and inland OC. Snow levels dropped to about 5,000 feet. At about 60 degrees. Right now it's 57 in Anaheim, Laguna Beach 55, West Covina 59, and in Burbank 57 degrees. We lead local from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Phil Hewlett. In Sun Valley, this is on the 5 southbound at Glen Boulevard. Crews from an earlier crash. Taking up the right lane there. You're seeing delays as you approach. Tustin, we have good news. Earlier crash on the 5 northbound after 55 has been cleared from lanes. Your drive's up to full speeds in that area. And in Huntington Beach, there is a work zone that's on the 405 northbound from Beach Boulevard to Bolsa. 2 right lanes going to be shut down for road work. Watch for delays. KFI of the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Brian Van.
Every year, our team provides food and toys for less fortunate families. Hello, my name is John McClan, owner of Rooter Hero Plumbing. I remember one Christmas when my dad didn't have any work, and we didn't have any money. I can still recall the look of shame on his face when my brother and I only had one present to open. I was a brat and said something I shouldn't have. To this day, I am still sorry for what I said to my dad. I was selfish, and I wish I could take it all back. So I know it's like for some families. At Rooter Hero Plumbing, we want to make Christmas special. So all this month, we are donating a portion of every plumbing and drinking service we do to families in need. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from our family to yours. Thank you.
CO 102-8886.
If you own a business and manage to keep 5 or more people on the payroll through the pandemic, there's a new government program that will pay you tens of thousands of dollars per employee. And this is not a loan. This is a grant. The challenge is getting your hands on this. InnovationRefunds.com. No red tape helps you get the cash. They do all of the legwork. They don't charge a penny until you receive the money. And what they do is simply share a percentage of the money they get for you. They got my business a 6-figure refund. Now, their average client gets $250,000. That's impressive. Go to InnovationRefunds.com, click on the Qualify Me button, answer a few questions. InnovationRefunds.com, it's no risk, and it certainly is high reward. InnovationRefunds.com, they help me, I'm sure they can help you. InnovationRefunds.com.
KFI, AM 640, more stimulating talk.
We have the best medical system in the world. You know that, don't you? Which is why people have to go to GoFundMe, which is why they go bankrupt, which is why people have to decide, do we pay the rent or will we pay medical bills? Keep in mind, we have the best medical system in the world. Bill Handle. Remember, no insurance is the best insurance.
Mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.